Folks, welcome into That Betting Show's preview of Super Bowl futures. We're going to spend a couple minutes, both me and Teddy, going over a few teams here, maybe some long shots here, designed to put some more money in your pocket. Teddy, if we look right off the top here, those New England Patriots, plus 750 to win the Super Bowl, solid offensive line. It seems like their birthright every single year to get to the Super Bowl. They're number one up top of this list at 7.5 to 1. If there's any value this year in 2019 and them winning the Super Bowl, Teddy?
Well, here's the problem with the Patriots. There's never any value in betting on the Patriots, and yet they continue to be in Super Bowls and win Super Bowls. So you say, is plus 750 enough to make a wager in June or July on the Patriots? And I say no, because I would expect to see, and I'd expect to see a couple things. One is that New England's not a team that gets off to a 10-0 start every year, so you may well see opportunities in September to get a number that's every bit as good as this one. And two, frankly, the Patriots lost a lot this past offseason. They really did. The AFC is far more wide open than it's been in many recent years.
Teddy, when you take a look real quick on the Patriots here, because you're right, bringing up that point, a lot of attrition lost. Are we just saying, you know what, Bill Belichick's that more elevated than every other coach out here and Tom Brady? I mean, they are getting a little bit older and obviously a little bit of talent deficiency. Just because they're on top each and every year and the AFC is a little bit weak, I know we have that perceived notion that they should get back, but sooner or later, Teddy, it has to show up on the field where they're just not as good as they were the past couple of years, right?
Well, I mean, if you've been saying that for the last decade, you've been losing money pretty consistently. Because the Patriots not only have been a great straight-up team, they've been a great point spread team. Why? Because their statistical profile doesn't reflect the genius of Brady and Belichick. And the wise guys are betting stats, and the Brady and Belichick genius is actually worth something. Again, I'm not. And there's another factor to consider is that both the Jets and the Bills will be better in 2019. Yeah. And this has been the easiest division in football for the Patriots to run over year in and year out. I don't know if the Jets and Bills are good enough to beat New England, but they might be. Both teams definitely on the upswing. Miami still got a long way to go.
Yep, both these, obviously getting to the Super Bowl, Teddy, usually leads through New England. It's hard to win on the road in the playoffs in the NFL, and certainly the New England Patriots have a habit of being home in those big-time games. Number 2 team tier, Teddy, listed is those Kansas City Chiefs. So we take a look at some odds right now, plus 850 to win the Super Bowl. Now, there is an interesting hearing coming up on Tyreek Hill, whether or not he does get suspended. You have a lot of turbulence on the defense here, new defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and also a lot of new players with some moving parts here. But the one thing that's not a moving part is Andy Reid is going to be leading a pretty talented quarterback and really talented offense. Last 5 years, if we take a look, Teddy, 9 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins, 10 wins, and 12 wins overall. Kansas City Chiefs coming in just short of 10 to 1. How are we looking here?
Well, if you do nothing but bet Andy Reid over his season win total every year, Philadelphia, Kansas City, you've done very, very well for yourself over the last 2 decades. I mean, I think he's had cashed 3 or 4 over tickets in his under tickets in his entire career. I know he hasn't cashed any. He's gone over the total every year in KC. And it was fairly similar to that in Philadelphia. But if you've been betting Andy Reid to win the Super Bowl, you haven't cashed any. And it's a Chiefs team. You talk about the defensive changes. Look, this offense was good enough to make up for the 31st or 32nd ranked defense last year and get KC, into the playoffs and win a playoff game. The defense with the changes, there's not going to be any worse. The question is whether opposing defense is going to have some answers for Patrick Mahomes. They didn't have any in his rookie season last year. But at less than 10 to 1, I mean, I guess of the 3 teams at the top, KC is the one that I would be most inclined to bet. But that's not how I approach NFL futures. You need long shots that you can hedge with when you get to the playoffs. KC doesn't offer that possibility in the 10 to 1 range.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Kansas City rebounds from last year, Teddy. I thought I was headed to the window, but an offside said absolutely not and took my money away from me here. Next team we'll take a look at one of the favorites here, Teddy, coming in right around 10 to 1. Those Los Angeles Rams, as we saw in the Super Bowl, underperformed against the Patriots in that football game. Coming now back into it, and a lot of times we look at, Teddy, that Super Bowl hangover. Do they have enough moxie to get back over the hill now that they have a target on their back? Todd Gurley mysteriously still ailing with the knee injury. You'll see how that plays into it here. But the Rams at 10 to 1, Teddy, how about they looking this year?
All right. So the Patriots are qualified, maybe, no. The Chiefs are qualified, maybe, no. The Rams are in no freaking way. All right. They were healthy all year last year. It's a veteran team that stayed healthy, made it to the Super Bowl. Everyone knows they have nothing to prove in the regular season. All right. It's what can you do in the playoffs. Belichick gave everyone a game plan, a blueprint. How do we stop this offense? How do we stop Goff? It's hard for me to imagine the Rams being A, as good as they were last year, B, as healthy as they were last year, and C, Goff being able to match what he did for most of the season. And there's a couple teams behind them in that division, San Fran in particular, who I think has the potential to make some real noise in 2019.
Teddy, we know the favorites here, but there are going to be some shots where you can take a look and say, you know what, if some things break right for these NFL teams, you can really cash in. And to your point, once they make the playoffs, as we think they do, you can some hedge out and make some money in there. Chicago Bears, 18-1, the Steelers, 22-1, the Vikings, 25-1. I know a lot of people are high on the Indianapolis Colts. They are 14-1. Are there any teams that you have your eye on outside of these favorites that say, you know what, some things break right, it's a pretty good football team, they can make a run at it?
Well, there's a bunch of teams that, again, when I'm looking for future bets, I'm not looking for the favorites. Especially when we're talking about over the summer, locking my money up for the next 7 months, 8 months on a favorite. No, that's not how I'm going to do it. I want the teams that are priced 25-1 now, that'll be 5-1 in September. And you talk about the Vikings, the team that has that level of potential. I don't want to steal your thunder on Minnesota, so I'll let you talk about them. Indy at 14-1 certainly stands out to me on some level. I do think the Colts are as good as anybody in the AFC, and Andrew Luck is a QB that certainly we would trust in the postseason. You talk about a team like Atlanta, who's been to the Super Bowl, elite quarterback, a defense that should be a good notch. I mean, their defense was good last year. It was the offense that kind of fell apart. I think the Falcons are a team that's a longer shot that could be live for a Super Bowl future. And I mentioned the 49ers. And again, these are long shot futures. They're not likely, but they're possibilities. San Fran's upside is Super Bowl. If Garoppolo can play at the level that we think he can and that he showed signs of playing, that roster, they've done a lot of roster upgrades in San Fran over the last couple of years. They might be ready to make some noise.
Yep, those two teams we were talking about there, the Teddy with the Vikings 25-1. The reason why I think this might be worth a little bit of a long shot there, we know Aaron Rodgers. He's been banged up the past couple of years. We'll see how those Chicago Bears, now that they're on top of the division and looking down to see if they can continue with Mitchell Trubisky at 25-1 might be worth it there. And also, the other team I'm looking at, Teddy, which not getting a lot of play here, we know they lost a lot of talent, and that's Le'Veon Bell, obviously, and Antonio Brown shipped off. I still think the Pittsburgh Steelers would be viable at a 22-1 ticket here. A lot of people putting their eggs in that Cleveland basket. We haven't seen him perform yet. Heck, even make the playoffs, finally getting some wins under the belt last year. So looking at those two teams, I think might be worthy. But also keep in mind here on That Betting Show, we're going to have some AFC previews and some NFC previews to get you ready for opening day in the NFL all throughout the summer right here. He's Teddy Savransky. I'm Donnie Seymour. We will get you ready on That Betting Show. Tune in next time when we have another video out previewing the AFC and the NFC.